in yet, please do so. Thank you.
I saw stuff on Facebook.
No, right. And it's probably on right now.
How are you doing?
She turns it
How
on.
are you feeling?
I feel great. Yeah, there's no pain associated with it, at least not yet.
Have you been okay?
Yeah. They have me on drugs.
Better than not having them.
We can tell, Tom. We're just acting like there's nothing wrong.
Sir, did you sign in? I'd like to call this meeting, the Palmyra Borough Council, to order. Could everyone please rise and remain standing for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for the armed services. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Brenda, may we please have roll call?
Counselor Barry?
Here.
Counselor Catalani?
Here.
Counselor Garber?
Here.
Counselor Miller?
Here.
Counselor Corroli?
Here.
Counselor Touche?
Here.
Counselor Shear?
Here.
Mayor Carpenter? We have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. Just a reminder to please silence all cellular devices during the meeting. And also, please hold any comments regarding the regional police topic until we get to the police section. We're going to have a special comment section tonight at that time for those comments. We have no special visitors, so that takes us to public comment period number 1 for any comments other than the police regional police topic. Please remember to come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and try to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Okay.
I'm here for multiple reasons. My name's Adam Coble, 122 North Chestnut Street, Palmyra, PA. I recently got a fine from the borough for weeds for $100. I didn't get any advance notice on that. I have a broken leg since May. It's still not properly healed. I called the borough office to see if I get that fine rescinded due to that. And also, anybody here a botanist? Anybody at all? Anybody ever work for a lawn care company? Nobody. Okay. Do you guys know what overseeding is? Do you know that some man's weeds are another man's flower? But some of the weeds I had in my garden were to attract bees that you might consider weeds. Yes, they were taller than 1 foot long. Okay? So that's part of the reason. By the way, I'm disabled and I'm a senior citizen. To not get any kind of notice like that, I have a fixed income. I have a salary cap on my salary, how much I'm allowed to earn a month. That's devastating to me, especially when I've been out of work since May. Okay, that's one issue I have with you guys. Next one, sewage. I was told that you guys, for sewage and trash bill, you go by how many people you think are living in a household. Everywhere else I lived in the United States, they did it by the water bill. They charge what they charge for the sewer bill off the water bill. I paid over $1,200 a month because I own a duplex that you guys say is a rental property. I haven't rented that property in 10 years. Reason being is because people just destroy it, okay? So the fact that I'm paying a double sewage bill when I got a single sewage pipe, and right now, currently for over a year, well, almost a year, my son has moved out, he's on his way to doing college stuff, and I was a single parent all the time, I've been paying a double sewage bill and trash bill. And then the worst part about it is when I put my trash out half the time, it doesn't get picked up. And then it piles up in my yard, and then you guys complain about that. I said, well, I called I called the trash people. I literally had to stand out there and tell them, yes, I'm allowed to have 6 cans, okay? And the other thing, you guys charge me a $50 thing for a rental property. It's not a rental property, it's not my business, okay? And I don't feel like it's even justified for you guys to make me have to pay that. It's not a rental property, okay? Do you charge any other business in this borough $50 a year to run, or $100 a year? Do you charge Walmart money because they're running a business? You don't, but you pick on the guys who have rental properties. I don't want to rent my property, okay? That's up to me, it's my business. If I came to your work and told you how to do it, or this officer here, that, hey, you need to arrest more people, or we're gonna charge you $50, it's not fair, it's not a fair thing at all, okay? Especially to a senior citizen. And you guys gotta realize, you have a huge population here that, yes, they got an increase maybe in cost of living, but guess what? They lost their health care insurance because of that. When you're on a fixed income, every dime counts, okay? So I just want you guys to understand that. Yes, my yard may not be up to your specifications, but I like it how it is. And I didn't realize that I had to have tulips a certain color, or my doors have to be painted a certain color, okay? Plus I'm disabled, plus I had a broken leg at the time, and you just come around and stick that on my sticker. It'd be nice to get a phone call or a mail from you guys. Also, my tax dollars at work with you guys. Here's a letter you initially sent me, then you sent me a letter I had to sign for, exact same letter, 2 days apart, okay? You know what it's like getting one of these on a Friday? It causes unnecessary stress in my life, okay? Really, especially when it's the same redundant thing, okay? I can show you pictures to prove it. Do you want me to actually open them up and show you it's the same letter? I don't think I need to do that, do I? Somebody, anybody?
For me.
Good for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna leave now because I'm in pain.
What's his last name?
Anybody else for public comment?
Dave McCloskey, 212 East Ridge. I feel sorry for the gentleman that was here, but having recently driven around in our borough, there are weeds everywhere, along the streets, along the sidewalks, and they're all well over 12 inches long. As far as being notified, it's in the newsletter. It's been in effect for years. I say we start enforcing it. I don't want to hear that then we have to pay an attorney. We have them on retainer for a reason. If it costs us more money, so be it. The town looks terrible. It needs to be cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Ryan Kelly, 134 North Chestnut Street. A few things I wanted to talk about. I do think the gentleman, Adam, that was here before does bring up a valid point with the sewer bill. So I have a duplex that I've owned that I lived in for 10 years, and I haven't rented one half of it for that time. I plan on renovating it. I'm a contractor, so contractor's house, you know, always last to get worked on. But I've come to the borough, and you know, in fact, I'm familiar with a lot of the ordinances, being that I'm on the zoning board. I don't know if any of you guys know that, but I've been on there for 8 years. I've tried to get out of paying the double sewer bill. I pay it, and I have one sewer line. I'm the same as him. I really, really would like to see something done where there's a different system that, you know, Adam's in a different situation. His half was never rented. He doesn't rent it. I think he uses it for storage. So you gotta watch out for weeds and stuff like that, and I get that, and blight, I understand that. But when you're in I think there's other things to look at though. And I was told that I would have to completely abandon that address. You know, you might say you want your cake and eat it too. I wasn't certain what I'm gonna do with that property yet. I didn't know if I was gonna combine it with the other half, or if, and that's the point I would abandon it, or if I'll just renovate it and turn it back into a rental. But I am maintaining the exterior. So there's a situation where it's not a blighted property. I have 2 addresses, and Brenda can back me up on this. For a decade, I've paid a double sewer bill, and I have 1 sewer pipe. So I think there's another system that needs to be put in place there. I've never once complained about it, but I do feel his pain, because I know that he has trouble paying that bill. So that's one thing. The other thing is, when you guys get to it, I think all this talk about the budget and everything you guys are looking at, I read over the minutes from the last couple times, and I was a little taken aback by, you know, we have some situations where you guys are in favor of something that is discussed, you know, Heritage Park basketball court or the walking trail. Unfortunately, Roger's not here because I know some of this stuff is passionate to him. And then we start talking about other areas where there's gonna be expenses next year, and the tangible things that people in this town and children in this town are gonna see are instantly, oh, let's just cut that out, even though it's already in the budget for next year to do some of these things. It doesn't make sense to cut that out. I'm sure there's gonna be more people that complain about what the town looks like. I heard someone say before another meeting, oh, why do you fix things up? Because no one takes care of it if you do anyhow. That's not true. That's what slumlords say. If you don't take care of something, they won't take care of it. If you spend $26,000 on Heritage Park, where kids, the only park they have to play basketball, I think Roger's estimate included concrete instead of asphalt. It's gonna be a completely different playing surface for them. It's gonna be more durable, and it's what people wanna see something done. I don't understand where we take these small dollar items that literally people in the town will see something being done, walking trail, basketball court, and that's just off the table. After already saying it was a good idea, after already putting money away. Roger saying that $120,000 was saved on paving next year, I think, in the budget that he could pay for those trails. I live by Fireman's Park. The amount of work that they've done over there in 10 years is phenomenal. What it was like 14 years ago when I moved to town and the limited usage it got and the usage it gets now is night and day. And everybody takes care of it and everything looks great. I think that's an example you should look to and duplicate it over there at Southeast Park. That's it for today, at least for this one, till the police comes up.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? All right. Closing public comment period number 1. Moving on to the consent calendar. The following agenda items will be acted upon by a single motion unless a member of Borough Council wishes a specific item to be voted on separately. Approve the minutes of the August 8th, 2023 Borough Council meeting. Approve payment of all bills listed on the July 2023 detailed check listing report. And approve the treasurer's report for the period July 1 through July 31st, 2023.
Madam President, if I may, I put another copy of the minutes with a highlight on the second page. Under the police department, when we did our packets and sent them out, it brought to my attention that I screwed up his report and asked me to make it correct, and he's 100% correct. I did screw it up. So seeing as we're staff and he's making changes to the report that he put forth at the last meeting, I wanted to present it to you before you voted on it. So those are the amendments, if you will, from Chief.
So we're hearing no questions, I'll move to accept.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
You're opposing the minutes?
Yeah, because there's certain things in the minutes, like we've discussed, that I just don't agree with. And can we go over them again, certain things?
The minutes, okay, so it's not agreeing with what was stated, it's that everything, the minutes were stated correctly.
Yeah.
It's a
well,
true reflection of the last meeting.
Right.
No, I understand that. They are stated correctly, but I don't have to agree with them if they're stated
Well,
correctly or
but
not.
that is correct, but that has nothing to do with accepting the minutes. The minutes are a record of our last meeting.
No, I know.
So whether they were, if the minutes are correct, whether you agree with certain aspects of them or not, they need to be approved,
Yeah,
so.
So you're still casting a no vote?
yeah.
Okay.
All right, takes us to action and discussion items. Ordinance number 825, amend chapter 305, solid waste. Discussion on and if appropriate, suggested motion to enact ordinance number 825 to revise chapter 305, solid waste, to revise regulations governing the storage of solid waste and recyclable materials on properties within the borough.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ordinance number 826, amend chapter 277, rental property, discussion on and if appropriate, suggested motion to enact ordinance number 826 to revise chapter 277 rental property, to revise the time periods for registering vacant properties, and to add a new section 277-14 concerning registrations of short-term rentals. Questions, comments, discussion?
I have no questions.
Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
You good, Brenda? Good.
I'm so far keeping up with you.
Just making sure. Okay. All right, President's report, it's great to see a full audience. I wish we'd get this more often without having a controversial issue at hand. So, thank you all for showing up tonight. That's it. All right, that takes us to the financial report. Everybody has the financial statement as of July 31st, 2023. Any comments, questions on that?
No, I have none.
Didn't mean to
Feel
look
like
at
I
you.
got Everybody looks at me when they do them.
Sorry.
No, I don't.
Questions?
Actually, I haven't.
Anybody?
Nope.
All right,
It's fine with me.
all right. Delinquent sewer and refuse account report as of July 31st. Everybody has that in front of them?
It was a billing month.
Yeah,
It's right
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
The girls as always, please.
I will.
All right, that takes us to the fire department.
It's still there.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Okay.
Just the fact that they got the $41,000 grant, that was reported to us.
Wonderful to see.
It's great to see.
Okay, library report, there was no meeting in August 2023. Do you have anything, Jane?
No.
All right. Takes us to the police department. Chief, you're up.
So before we do that, let's talk, do you have any questions on your numbers that I gave you for the month? Crimes against persons, you're under again.
The totals, is that month-to-date totals? Okay,
Yeah.
so like 2022 was only up to the end of July?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure
So
because
you're just doing a 7-month snapshot.
Right.
So like, to give you an idea,
Yep.
compared to last year,
Gotcha.
if you look at year-to-date, crimes against people, we're down 3.5%, so we're doing better. Crimes against people, we're under 31%, which we're doing better than we did last year. And then crimes against society were showing down 34. A lot of that is the drug arrests. We're still waiting on all the lab results to file charges. So once those happen, those numbers will go back up. Traffic enforcement, that went down a little bit because we had more vacations in July. Parking tickets, are about the same. The arrests year-to-date are all pretty consistent between last year and this year. Foot patrol, you had 21 hours versus 20 and a half last year. You did 5 hours of bike, 3.5 last year. 523 calls compared to 579 last year. Year-to-date, 3,910 versus 3,561. What else we got? Crashes, you had 13, 8 non-reportable, 5 reportable. Your big day was a Saturday with 3. Is it because of that?
Push it back. It's the bottom.
Any questions on that?
No questions.
And then for the year, you're at a 70% clearance rate for everything we investigate. So any questions on any of your crime stats?
I have no questions.
Now I'll give a rehash of everything I said last time, because there's been a lot of varying things put out there, so I want to make sure everything is true and accurate. So first, let's start with the budget. So in 2020, it's showing a 10.2% or 10.2% increase. All right, in 2020, I asked council for the additional 2 officers for the police department, which took us to 11. Update a computer for the interview room, which our detective was conducting interviews in a room without any type of video recording, basically just a hand recorder. We bought a $20,935 radio booster in the police department. That was put in front of council several years prior. This is actually a safety issue because officers were not able to get out of the station with their handheld radios. So this was a liability reducer. That was why it was approved. Top of that, we paid $5,340 for a speed sign. We sold our old speed sign to use that money and a little bit to purchase a brand new set that was discounted. And also on top of that, we spent $7,800 to buy a computer and all the software to do electronic downloads from computers, phones, laptops, everything like that. We're one of the only people in Lebanon County that has this. The only other people that have it are the Lebanon County Detectives Agency, and they don't have the program we have. They have the other 2, and we take turns sharing that. If they need something done, we do it for them, and if we need something that we can't do, they take care of us, so it's reciprocal. So that takes care of that. In addition, that 10.2, 2.5 of that was a raise per the police contract, so 7.7 of that was the actual increase, and out of that, a good chunk of that was the 2 officers. Next, in 2021, it says 2.9% increase. 2.5 of that was the raise per the police contract, so the actual raise was a 0.4. What did we do in 2021? That year also had an extra pay in it. On top of that, we spent $18,000 to buy body cameras for the officer, which is a liability reducer. It documents all our interactions with the community. On top of that, it also improved our conviction rates in all the court that we deal with. Also, on top of that, we spent $3,500 on riot gear. We're the only department in Lebanon County that has the riot gear, and everybody is trained to use it, which will help you reduce liability should we have to use it. Let's see, 2022, it says 7.9%, 4.6 of that was per the contract for the raise for the police. 3.3 of that was my actual part of the budget, and in that was when we started budgeting $10,000 to save towards a county radio system. The county is looking to put a whole new radio system in all of Lebanon County. It's unknown if they're saying they're going to pay for all of it. But if they don't, we will be on the bill for probably $100,000 to $140,000 to replace all the radios. So this way, at least if you're putting some money away, you're kind of preparing yourself for like bad weather. On top of that, $4,320 is for the GTAC storage cloud for the body cameras. And in this year, we also put the rest of the GTAC in-car cameras in 3 vehicles for $24,800. In 2023, you have down 9.6. 5% of that is for salaries for the police contract. 4.6 of that is to buy things. What did we put that towards? Again, put $10,000 towards the county radio system. That includes now all the storage for the 3 vehicles and the 8 body cameras, $6,370. We put $15,300 to the side. We bought 3 active shooter vests, that's 1 in each police vehicle. We bought some cabinets for more storage, and a mounted LPR was on the table, and we're holding off on that for right now. So that takes care of that budget. Something else to point out, because everybody keeps looking at that bottom line number and telling me how we increased it, but I'd like to point out, if you go on and look at the final budget for the borough, and if you go to page 9, in 2019, the police budget for funding for 2019 general fund expenditures, I'll give you the price, the police was 38%. 5 years later, the police is 40%, which is a 2% increase in the overall borough budget. So, while you're showing one number as me as an individual, in the overall picture, I went up 2%. So any questions on my budget and where those numbers have come from? These are all right out of the budgets and what we bought. Any questions on that?
What would our budget, what would it go up next year just on our own, just our own police department?
Ballpark, $1,970,000 some.
Okay, so it's about
That's ju- well,
it's about
that's-
100,000 more than what it is now.
But that's taking into consideration the police raise, which I don't know what the CPI is, but
Right.
say you take it at 5%. On top of that, I went through, because you know all your benefits are gonna go up. I used 6% on all of those numbers. And that's just a guesstimate. I don't know what healthcare is going to be. I don't know what disability is gonna be. And I'm not the only one, because if Roger was here and you would ask him those numbers, he won't know those numbers either.
So the total increase we're talking about here by regionalizing is going to be $100,000 outside of any improvements we need to make, but we're looking to theoretically get grants to cover restriping cars or whatever you call, restickering cars, uniforms, that kind of stuff, so they all look alike, so.
Now, I figured I'd give you a timeline, because so the regional stuff we tried this before, and everything I'm reading you is directly out of all of council minutes. So you can find all these in all the council minutes. So the first one would have been September 10th of 2019. That was when Chief Snyder and I talked about regionalizing us in North Londonderry. Roger talked to their township manager and said, okay, let's move ahead. Study was done. December 19th, 2019, we did the day before, we did a presentation. DCED consulted, indicated that merger is a strong possibility, and basically we should move forward and talk about it. And then, council was happy to hear that the possibility of merger was feasible and asked Mr. Powell to schedule a meeting with North Londonderry Township after New Year to begin the discussion. January 20th, 2020, Mayor Carpenter announced that the borough received a letter dated January 7th, 2020 from Ron Fouché, Chairman, North Londonderry Township Board of Supervisors, indicating that they are not interested in pursuing a regional police department. It was noted that this decision was made after the regional police study was presented and before any meeting between the municipalities was scheduled to discuss further options. They've already turned it down once after they had the facts. There really wasn't a reason to ask them a second time. So that kind of takes care of that one. And then we will move to April 12th, 2022. We were approached by Anvil Township about pursuing a regional study. They were looking to do one with North Anvil, South Anvil. They asked if we wanted, I came and asked council if they wanted to do this study. I didn't push it, I didn't ask anything. I asked them, do you want to do it? Council said that they would go along and do the study, and they passed it on a motion. June 14th, 2022, I told them that the regional study was getting close to being completed. August 9th, 2022, regional study was done, presentation was done. In that study, I'll just give you the highlight out of it. Borough currently spends $1.7 million of general fund budget on police services. Preliminary cost analysis show a reduction in the cost by $300,000 with the regional department if all 3 municipalities participate at a 100% rate. Savings will be less if the municipalities participate at a lesser rate. Borough Council discussed the advantages and disadvantages of the regional department and concluded that the only way to experience cost reduction is to move forward, passed on a motion. September 13th, 2022. We gave them an update. Anvil voted to regionalize with us. South Anvil was meeting the next night. Chief Dugan and I went down to York County Regional and asked them their experience and how the process would begin. September 27th, 2022. I told them South Danville had decided not to participate with the Regional Police Department and inquired if council was still interested in pursuing the regional department with Danville Township. They asked me about saving money. The only number I guaranteed them was $50,000 because that is a line item in the budget for building rent. Council agreed to continue moving forward with the regionalization. And they also approved a grant that night to work, which we later received to buy body cameras and in-car cameras. Next one, October 11th, 2022. We told them we were getting ready to meet with representatives from each municipality and DCED to discuss the next steps for establishing the regional police department. October 25th, 2022. Again, we said the committee met and we were discussing about what we would need to do to develop a charter. Also at that time, Roger asked about interest moving forward with doing building re-schematics. The council said no, wait to see what happens if we end up with a charter. November 10th, 2022, I gave him an update, told him we were having a meeting and we're still working on the charter. This whole time, almost all of these are working on the charter, and I'll explain what the charter is. November 22nd, 2022. We were still doing this. We're still working on the charter, and we also talked about doing a mutual aid agreement with Danville Township and for council to consider. It's easy. It was for mutual interest for both of us, and a lot of police departments on this end of the county, pretty much everybody has a mutual aid agreement with somebody next to them. It just gives you the ability to help them if they need it. December 13th, 2022. Basically, we just told them we had our next regional meeting coming. January 10th, 2023. Gave them an update. I said, just say we're still working on our charter. We would have our next meeting in January. January 24th, gave them another update to discuss the charter agreement. February 14th, again, we're discussing the charter agreement. And then finally, on March 14th of 2023, council was given a copy of the regional police charter. And it was reviewed by, prior to that, it was reviewed by our solicitor, their solicitor, and Anvil was fine with the way it was written. There were a few grammatical errors that were pointed to get fixed, but after that, council approved the charter. Basically, the charter is kind of like the rules of the game. Where's your building going to be? How are you going to do paying? How are you going to set up your board? So it's kind of laying out everything you need to do to make a commission. April 11th, what do we do? On April 11th, we worked on who was going to be on the regional commission, because there will be 2 elected representative positions for a 3-year term and a citizen at large for 2. And that was James Touche and Jane Crowley were selected to do it, and Matthew Andrews was selected as our citizen at large. And then on May 10th, we had a meeting and elected our chairman, a vice chairman, and then the secretary and treasurer. That's how we got to this point. Everything that I just read to you was talked in the Borough Council meetings, and they are all in Borough Council minutes. Next, I know some of the things people are saying about is coverage. You will only have 1 cop. Ladies and gentlemen, you only have 1 cop that predominantly patrols your area. When I got here, most shifts only had 1 police officer. I was able to, with the 2 additional people, to get you times where you have 2 people covering the borough. But we are not the only department in Lebanon County that only puts 1 officer out. That is predominant throughout Lebanon County. It's predominant in other areas. There's not this abundance of cops roaming all over the place. I'm trying to think what else was there. Why was South Londonderry not asked? You'd have to ask Anvil. They asked us. I asked my council, do you want to do the study? They said yes. Am I forgetting anything? I'm trying to work my way down everything that I've read about on Facebook, and your minimum manning. Oh, hold on. Your minimum manning will be 2 under the regional. You will always have 2 people working instead of 1. You will guarantee 2. And at some points, you will have 3 to 4 people out, depending on the date and the time. On top of this, you will have more supervision. You will have 4 bosses to supervise versus 2 right now. I'm trying to think. Go ahead and feel like I'm missing something.
Maybe explain why South Anvil decided not to.
Because South Anvil was going to go from about paying, just say 2.5 to paying 600,000.
And they,
But how much coverage do they have currently?
Currently,
They
they do like a day shift, and then then Anvil covers them in the evening. So they would have gone from the minimal coverage to 24 hours a day coverage, an 18-member police department, a detective, and everything else.
they don't have a full-time
They're not full
police
service.
department.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize there's a lot of not full-time police departments. You don't have protection all the time in different places.
There's a lot of municipalities in Lebanon that have state police coverage.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
Construction.
Oh, forgot about the construction. No, we are not building a brand-new building. We are making some tweaks to the one we had, and some of those tweaks were going to occur regional or not. Our evidence room is not large enough for the amount of stuff that we have. We have some things that cannot be thrown away forever because they involve some type of suspicious death or a homicide. You can't get rid of that evidence, and it's sitting in there and it's taking up a whole entire shelf. So they've agreed to expand out a little bit to make the evidence room bigger. We talked about adding an additional office anyway to possibly at some point in the future, maybe add another supervisor or another detective. That's where those things came from. The extras in there would be the locker room, but that's to take on the additional officers and an extra office. That's where those come from.
And that also included the extra office
For zoning.
that we need for zoning. Well, that they say we need for zoning. Yeah.
What other ones? And the last one I'll put too, because that was how I'm going to influence council. So far, I haven't influenced council at all on this. I've asked them, do you want to do this study? It's been up to them in front of whoever has been here. Do you want to do this? They said yes. I asked them a question, do you want me to do this? It's a yes or a no. I don't have the ability or the power to just go do what I want. So at this final part, I'll say this. It's up to them to do whatever they want. It doesn't matter to me. If they want to do it, great. We'll have a bigger department. My guys will have more area to roam in. If they don't, okay, I still have an 11-member department. It is what it is. So I'm not giving anything on this. It's up to them what they want to
So
do.
I will attest to that because I've been on council since 2010. And I remember having a conversation with North and South Londonderry Townships about regionalizing back in, when did Keith leave? 2011? So somewhere around 2011, 2012 is when the conversation started with regionalizing police. So,
I guess the question would be, why would you want to regionalize? Because everybody's going to give you all these different why it's bad, why it's good. Number one, if you look, recruitment retention is hard right now. Nobody wants to be a police officer at the end of the day. There are people that are giving, I know a department that I could have went to work for and made $117,000 a year as a patrolman. And they had three people take their test because nobody wants to do this. So how do you get more officers? You regionalize and bring in experienced people to police your area. Retention. I lost a guy recently because he wanted to go to a bigger department because it had more opportunity. They had detectives. They had more supervisors. They had specialized unit. That's why he left. And I'm pretty sure I have somebody else right now that's interested in going to another larger department. It's a retention thing. You give cops more area to roam around in. Next, you're standardizing your services because now you kind of control more people, your officers. You don't have, so when other people back you up, you can't force, I don't want to say force them to do things, but it's a little harder. If both people work for me, I can give them direction of what I want done versus somebody that might come from North Londonderry because he still has to follow his policies and procedures. That takes care of that. You standardize that. Last thing is you're trying to stabilize your costs. And what I mean by stabilizing costs is you're no longer paying for 2 buildings. You're no longer paying for 2 RMS systems. You're no longer paying for 2 sets of computer contracts. You're taking things from 2 and reducing it down to 1. Salaries are going to be what they are.
Andy,
And
what's an RMS system?
Records management system, sorry. That's where people do their reports. So, and then the negatives will be you don't know your officer. No, you will now meet more officers. Whereas some of them would go down there, they're gonna meet new people, the same that people live here. You're going to meet new people. You lose control. I heard the other one is you lose control. You're still putting your elected officials on a board that give direction and control, so that takes care of that.
Okay. For myself, I've always been a strong person to support the police officers that we have within our community. When, years ago, the police department, we had vehicles that were used vehicles. We had no four-wheel drive vehicles. We had two-wheel drive vehicles that were used and falling apart. We had some emergencies over some winter time, and we were not able to support the community because the police vehicles got stuck in the snow and they couldn't provide support. So one of the elements for myself was always to have, for the safety of the community, a good, strong police force. And that's one of the areas that I have focused on. And I think we have done the increases over time of what we have established was now we have dedicated more time to some more officers, also maintaining our vehicles, but we've tried to put that very fiscally responsible to put those vehicles in a rotational basis to give us the support within the town. Because if we don't have police support in this community, then there's possibility of, more trouble erupting over time. So that's one of the elements that for me, the police department is incredibly important. I do understand the opportunities that with a larger police force, there is more internal opportunities, and the portions of replacing police officers can be more difficult in the small forces, so I do see the benefits there. When the council started to explore this years ago, we explored it because we thought there would be a good way of saving money, but at the same time offering more services. So I'm not sure where we are is because inflation has been astronomical, which we all know. But even with that, there's going to be costs that are going to be associated, even if we don't merge regionally. And we did try to make this, the state itself will provide more grants to regional, as my understanding goes, to regional departments because the state doesn't want individual departments. So they want to have a little bit more larger forces that makes it easier to operate overall. So with that, by regionalizing, there are some different costs. Do you think we're still at par, or is it costing more money? Not taking it, because with inflation, we know there's gonna be more costs, but if it was apples to apples, is it more expensive to do regional, or is it still more of a benefit? Is it more of a benefit to go regional, or is there any money savings, I guess? Are we saving money at all?
At this point, no. Just
And
based
how-
off of,
And how much of a difference is there? Is it the 100,000?
It's the 100,000.
It's the 100,000.
because when you would do, so here's the other part, you're no longer following your municipality's umbrella. So when you go to get things, you are your own entity. You have no equity and you have no, what were the,
Capital asset.
not capital, the ratings.
Oh, the experience modification.
Yes, so you don't have some of those things. I'm
You're
learning about this
the
stuff.
new police force. You're not
Yeah.
the old Palmyra police force who's been here
Yeah.
since.
Because
XYZ.
because in theory, you should be, you have an account with this much it costs you for healthcare. It only costs them, you should just put them together and, right, just add that number. Yeah, it doesn't work like that when you do healthcare, because automatically you're a new entity till they do their study, and all of a sudden, well, you're new, so now they want to jack up your price because you're new. The same way with like the insurances, your numbers go up because you're new. We were able to get somewhat of a decent rate on that because they took into consideration both municipalities had the same insurance company, using them as the broker, so they took that into consideration, but it's still a high number because you're a new entity. That's where you're getting, basically that's where you're getting hosed, honestly. Because you're new.
Yourself.
Yes.
And we're never gonna get a cost savings on that? Your insurance is never gonna come down.
Your
It's just gonna
healthcare-
continue to, the modifier is gonna get lower.
What I've learned on healthcare is there's a high, they have a high and a low number. You budget the high number, and then anything that you have that's left over, you get back the next year, and then you take it off your overall bill.
Okay, how about down the road? Over time,
That's,
Yeah, but
You can if you get some people to join, yes.
okay, so for example, a lot of building going on actually all around us. So I'm not gonna hold my breath on North or South joining. Who knows? Maybe South Anvil might. I mean, they're gonna experience a big boom in retail, but no, you can't, that's not a guarantee.
well, I certainly have my feelings of why I think North isn't interested. But, you know, it's, not because they didn't want to, it's just that their leadership just didn't wanna, I don't believe, probably didn't wanna lose control. They wanted to maintain their control. And it's not of loss of control, it's just controlled differently from, the commission as opposed to the council, because it's no longer an independent police department of the borough. So anytime you regionalize something, you have a commission that does it. And they would have to come back and provide the budget to to whatever municipalities fall under it, they're each gonna have to, the commission would then come to those respective councils and then ask for the budget to support it that way.
all right, I have some thoughts. Everything that has been said, I think it truly is wonderful and how you can expand and retention. And I think, of course, it has a lot of benefits. I agree with all that. The thing that has me stuck on, and I've been talking about it now, is that the increase in the money, because if we're looking at overall, like an individual when they're looking at their bill, like that gentleman who came in who's on a fixed income, you know, we have 15.5% of people who are 65 and older, they might be on fixed incomes here in the borough. And so those individuals, they're looking at this, that Lebanon County raised 18% of taxes in 2022. That Palmyra Borough raised taxes too, as well. We did $152.45 increase in taxes just in 2023 from 2022. And then not just that, Palmyra Area School District will be raising taxes again from 5 to 5.3% of an increase.
Well, they
So-
don't have their budget yet.
Yeah,
They
but
just raised.
that was in the paper in May, so they don't have it yet, but expect that to come in 2023, perhaps.
They just paid it, so yeah.
It's
Okay.
already happened.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so those are the things that has me a little worried. Like I said, I see all the benefits in it, I truly do. But those right there, when I look at the numbers and individuals who are on fixed incomes, it does have me raise my hand and has me a little worried for them. Because there's individuals here that are fine and they can do it. But there's a lot more individuals that can't. I think there's 48% people that own and 45% people that rent. You know, it's a little bit different. We need to take in mind that. And so, yes, this is gonna be increasing, but overall, everything has increased for them. The county, the borough, the school district, and now this.
Groceries?
Right. Oh, you add that in, but if we're just looking at those bills right there, that's a lot. I mean, we're not even taking in the state and the government bills, the federal. That's what has me concerned. That's it. I think, like I said, I think it's a great idea. I think there's a lot of benefits actually with retention, because that is an issue. But that's my worry for the residents, is that how you know, holidays are coming up. It's already September. We got we got Thanksgiving, Christmas going. How's that gonna feel for them with having all these increases in taxes, not just in the borough, but the county and school district and everything? So that's my piece.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to open it up to public comment. Again, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. And this section is only for comments on police regionalization. We have another public comment period at the end for anything else. Anybody?
Kevin Furman, 734 East Cypress Street.
East what?
Cypress.
Thank you very much.
I might have missed it when you were giving out different amount of officers, but is Anvil Township right now 24/7?
Normally, but they're running into a couple of headaches right now.
They're what?
Running into a couple of headaches right now.
Couple of headaches. So but they were 24/7, or they?
Their schedule is 24/7. The problem was they had one person get deployed and one person got hurt.
Okay, because I don't see them around often, in town down there or anything like that often. So that's the only reason I was asking. Okay.
Every morning when I go to work.
Elmira and Londonderry.
Greg Reed, 233 East Hazel. Chief, you try to keep your budget as low as possible. When it comes to your benefits and your health care for your officers, you pay for everything, or do they contribute to their health care? How much a percentage?
Negotiated.
Probably based off of how much you make.
I never heard.
Was it a flat number?
Yeah, it should be a flat number. It should be
Yeah.
like that.
I think
I
it's a
don't know
flat
what it
for,
is.
for a single and a
Yes,
different flat
different
for a family.
I don't know. what that-
And the
But
reason
that
why
is
I asked,
negotiable.
Hershey Foods is getting rid of their retirement health care.
Oh, my.
That's another big blow.
No, but the point is, like he was saying, seniors have to, it's gonna cost us more now, because we gotta go out and, we had a decent amount that we had to contribute to our retirement health care. Now with them getting rid of it, who knows what it's gonna cost us? Especially, like he said, the seniors on fixed incomes. So that's why I was wondering what you guys pay. I didn't know if you had a full package where they didn't have to contribute. And the retirement? What about their retirement benefits? Do they contribute to that at all?
The pension plan is, each officer has to contribute to the pension plan 5% of their salary.
Okay.
That's the one that they, what do you call the paper that they vote on every year?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What's the paper that they?
MMO.
MMO, they do that every budget,
Okay.
where they do the 5% and then the police have to match it at 5%.
The difference is, with the borough pension plan, it's a state mandated defined benefit plan, okay? So we get an equation every year that we have to make that contribution. We figure out the equation based on the number of personnel, and each officer counts as 2. So we have to figure out that formula, and then that is the amount that we will owe in the defined benefit plan. In the past, council used to allow the officers not to make a contribution towards that. But you also know that, there's been a lot of discussion about state pensions and, how far behind they are. Well, we're not in a different kind of pension. We're in a defined benefits plan like that, okay? So in the past, when we moved, and I'm just gonna give you a little history on this, when we moved out of the Principal Financial Group and into the Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System Group, our pension plans for both the non-uniform and the uniform were underfunded. Since then, council has made the commitment to bring those up to date. And we are 98% funded in our pension plans. Okay, so that formula that is figured out is the requirement for the borough to make the contribution annually to the pension plan. Because we were in a situation prior to the 98% funded, Borough Council said that the police officers, and they set it by resolution, had to make 2.7% of their salary as a contribution. Subsequently, I can't give you years, but if you need them, I can find them. Subsequently, they raised that to 5%, which is the maximum that the council is allowed to assess on an officer to pay into the pension plan. So as we're looking into a regional department pension plan, the idea is to stay where we are currently because we're funded. And Anvil Township's officers coming in are in a different plan. And if they come into our plan, they have to come into an Act 600 compliance plan, which is, again, a state mandate, okay? And if their plan, when they close their old retirement and shift the money over, if they're underfunded, Anvil Township will have to make up that difference, not the borough.
Well, the reason why I asked, benefits are a big budget item, okay?
Right.
If you get this and it goes through or whatever, and they say, our guys are right now are only contributing 2% to their health care or whatever, and you have more, how do you come up with?
That'll be the commission, because they have to negotiate a contract. That's not something that I get involved in. That's basically your 5 commission members would be the ones that would negotiate a contract. So it's what they ideally do is you take both contracts and you take whichever one is better, is normally what they do.
Which is Palmyra's, I can tell you right now, versus Anvil.
But what I'm saying is if they don't agree with what you're
But it'll
doing.
be
then-
what the board, I have nothing to do with
No,
the contract. That'll
that's
be
called
all,
negotiation.
that'll all be them.
Yeah.
That's all them.
It's called negotiation.
Negotiate with the factories.
It's the same thing, salaries, health insurance,
Yeah,
any kind of
but they're not
benefits,
union.
that's a negotiable
It's a union.
point.
You're not union.
I'm not.
He's not,
But they are.
the officers are.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That I
That's
didn't-
why we
that I
have to
didn't know.
follow the CPI with, at this point, we have to follow the CPI with raises.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Anybody else for public comment? He answered a lot of questions, which is his first.
I'm back. Do I need to say Ryan?
I've already gotten you written in.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel you guys' pain, because when I started following it online, eye in the sky, and went back and read the minutes, I reached out to Brenda, Roger, the borough, I gathered a bunch of information, I reached out to you, Beth. I tried to reach out and get as much information as possible. I got all that, I got a bunch of stuff. I read through it, took the time, everything. There was a piece of the puzzle missing, that was Chief Winters. So last week I reached out to him and I went and met with him for nearly 2 hours. I still struggle with it. I still struggle. And I think I feel where you guys are coming from, especially you, Mr. Miller. I heard a lot about what you had to say. Here's what I would say, and there's so many ways you can cut this. Chief can cut it one way, you guys can cut it another way, a million different things. He's right that it was brought up over time. And it was brought up, and it was always brought up, hey, you guys want to do this, you want to do this. But if I asked you right now, if we were bringing up police regionalization today, and I led with that it would be more expensive, would you have given it the time of day you've given it the time over the last 2 years? Would you?
No, I would not have.
Right. So, I think my struggle is when I went to meet with Chief. Honestly, I thought I was probably going to be more opposed to it. Honestly, I thought that. But in meeting with him, here's how I summarize it. I think he has the right idea, but I think it might be the wrong plan. I think he's correct that regionalization is the future of policing. I don't see all these other small towns being able to continue what they do. South Anvil is a perfect example. They're growing, they're gonna need more police force. You know, him and I talked about it, he brought it up here. You know, they're at 300 and some thousand. To join, they would be at 600. Would they gain police coverage, you know, 24 hours a day? Yeah, absolutely. They're gonna need it eventually, someday, but they don't wanna do it because it's doubling their cost. You know, North, I think you guys are hitting the nail on the head there. I think it's just about the leadership up there, and someday maybe. But we're not there yet. We're not guaranteed. And I know Chief was bringing up about having to get that 16,000 members where you start saving people, where you see that savings. My fear in all the information that I've taken in is that it might take years and years to get there, years. We're gonna only be at a little over 11,000, I think, with combining the two. So I think regionalization is the right idea. It is, eventually. But I don't think we're there yet because, as I said in the beginning of what I brought up, if I would be posing this today to you as, hey, does anyone want to explore regionalization? It will give us the bigger force, which does lead to better officer retention, better him being able to recruit. There's a whole bunch of things that come good with it. But if the caveat was that it's gonna cost more money right out of the gate, you guys would be probably considering that different. I would say probably the majority of you would have considered that differently. So, you know, I don't know. It's tough, but that's where I'm at on the issue. And I think he's done a great job. I think what you brought up is over the last 4 years, he's spent I'm gonna say he spent a lot of money. He likes to say it differently, but I'm gonna say he spent a lot of money because I have a business and it's going like this. So, but I agree with what you said, Mr. Miller, in talking with him. He has done things spread out over the 4 years that has brought Palmyra force up to, no matter who we would combine with, we would be the best force. So I think he's maintaining a good force. He talked about the crime being down, and I think I doubt there'll be people in this room that will complain about our policing. I would be shocked about that. So the whole thing is, if we're not having those complaints, crime's down, you know, regionalization, yes, does it make sense? Yeah, but it's not the right plan. I just don't know where you guys go from here. So that's my spiel.
I can tell you where I'm gonna go. So South Anvil, with the very small force that they have, right, too, and they don't want to spend the money, and what's gonna happen is, they may have an issue that is gonna occur in that respective area, and they're gonna have a real problem on their hands, because they won't be able to have, they'll be relying on other officers and other police forces to support them, okay? So, if we're regional, they would be coming knocking on the door real quick when that happens, but that's the way human nature is. They're not gonna do anything until something catastrophic occurs. They're not, you know, thinking in a way forward. But if we would have we've had these conversations on this council about regionalization, and with the idea, myself included, of it was going to save money but yet offer more services. And my feelings are exactly the same as yours. I have been twisting and turning on what would be the right way to go. My feeling right now is, I agree, I don't believe that the regionalization at this particular moment in time is going to benefit us. And I believe that it could be something in the future. You know, sometimes these things occur, but they don't always go the first round. It takes a little more time to gel, a little more time to figure out. And we did embark on this with the cost savings, but in this particular juncture, we're not there yet. And I think we have a great police force. The service that they provide the community is exceptional. And, you know, I don't know if it's gonna really help us if we go regional at this time. That's myself personally.
Yeah, the cost is one thing. The service, you know, I talked to him a lot about the shifts and everything, and I think it's negligible there for us. I think they benefit more for service. I would say they definitely do, because they're struggling now. So we're not struggling, they are, so obviously they benefit more, right? So,
I mean, we do struggle to get officers, so.
but what has that led to? The crime's down, he's been able to maintain and equipment and
But
get
you,
stuff.
I mean, there is still a lot, if anybody subscribes to Crime Watch, you can see the stuff that's going on in this borough.
But once again, the crime numbers are down, right?
And I think that's because of our police
I
department.
do too.
Yes.
Yeah, I do
You're
too,
absolutely
but
right.
that's with the police department
Yes.
having only 7 officers. And most of the time being 1-1-1, sometimes he does a 1-2-1, second shift, 2 guys on.
No, you're
So,
right.
I think it's negligible there, I don't, so.
I agree.
But that's anything else? Anyone wanna add anything else?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
With the state of the way this country is going, $100,000 seems pretty cheap to get more officers' feet on the ground, protecting us, especially when it comes to holidays. You know, we don't have somebody breaking into our house because we've got officers that are on patrol. We've got family members coming to visit us. Officers are around making sure that nobody's breaking into their vehicles because we have a regional force. Again, I'm on a fixed income also. I'm one of those people that hit that spot, but if I get to control where I want to spend my money, I want to be safe. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tara Betts, 130 South Harrison Street. First, let me say thank you to all of you for the time that you invest. Like Ryan, I sit on the zoning hearing board, so I understand what it means to volunteer your time, and it does take a lot of effort and energy, so thank you. I'm not sure how many people in this room can say this, but I've lived at 130 South Harrison Street for all 55 years of my life. My house has been in my family for probably about 60, 62 years. We're pretty proud of our corner of Harrison and Maple Street. In my day job, I am vice president of a hotel restaurant management company, and we have, I oversee 15 hotels and restaurants in Pennsylvania and Maryland. I will tell you that I have properties in downtown Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., King of Prussia, major markets. And retention is no different in those major markets than it is here in central Pennsylvania. Okay? So I hear what you're saying, but I don't know that I can't, validate that based on hospitality. Labor is a problem no matter what the industry is all across the country. I will tell you that, I think everybody in this room would agree that Palmyra is not the same Palmyra that it used to be. And there is more issues, and I'm happy to hear that crime is down, but we're going to continue to have the same problems that we have moving forward. And they're only going to get worse. When you talk drugs and things like that, it's not going to get better. I would like to see it get better, but I'm not sure that it's going to, because that's the world we live in today. I would rather see our officers in our own borough, and our borough being as protected as it possibly can be, and not having officers in other townships. And especially when you have a barrier in between the two locations, okay? Last, taxes and the money. It's not just the retired people that are gonna have a problem. I mean, we have a lot of working class families that are struggling to make ends meet. Look at the school, look at the number of students in the school system that are on subsidized meals or can't afford lunch. If you, and those are the things that, so I hear what people are saying about the seniors and, Hershey Foods people losing retirement benefits. My husband is a Hershey retiree. He's losing his retirement benefits, his health insurance. So it's not just the retirees, it's the working class also. And I think at the end of the day, we have enough problems right here in Palmyra Borough, and I'd like to see our attention focused here. And, East Maple Street's gonna turn into a speedway again next week when school starts, before school, after school. We have a speeding problem in this borough, and nobody wants to address that. And if we have officers covering more of a territory, how is that gonna get better? Thank you.
So I need to make a comment about something I heard on the radio the other day. So there's now a bill proposed, and please don't ask me if it's in the House or the Senate, it's state level, that they want to make it basically that municipalities would merge. Did you hear about this? Yeah.
There's been talk of
Yeah,
that.
so that municipalities can outsource their management and that they can share managers, they can share staff, and they've been talking about fire regionalization for years. The state is, it seems to me that they're pushing all municipalities to merge whatever they can. But I was shocked when I heard that. Like, we could share you with North. We'll share you with North. There you go.
No, thanks.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the state is gonna push on every level to regionalize. Makes you wonder.
I had a meeting with our Public Works Superintendent today, and he was discussing the same thing with the North and South Londonderry being on the west end of this county. We all have equipment, and we all have, some have different equipment than we have, and they work closely together, especially John, who's their Public Works person in North Londonderry, works very closely with our folks, that they, we were down employees and we needed help, and North Londonderry sent us 2 of their employees to help us for the day to get a project done. More of that is actually going to start happening because the economies of scale of sharing the costs of things, it's gonna have to happen. No, I'm not sure that the state is barking up the correct tree on merging municipalities until they make one municipal code.
Yes.
And stop with townships of the first class versus townships of the
Oh, and this
second
would only
class.
affect third-class cities and then boroughs and townships or something like that. I mean, there was
There's so many
already
different
stipulations.
classes,
Yeah.
so many different classes of municipality, and there's a code book for everybody, for each different type, and they don't match. There's certain things that for example, boroughs are required to have civil service for police hiring.
Right.
Townships is it the first or the second class, I don't remember, but, some townships have to, other townships don't have to have civil service. So until they make the rules the same, I don't know how you merge municipalities.
I know, it just seemed so bizarre when I heard it that.
That's my 2 cents. If you want change, I'll give it.
Back to open comment for the
Yeah.
police department. Anybody else for open, public comment on utilization?
As I sat out back there and listened a little bit to some of the things being stated, I just need to verify something. I'm hearing us talking, if we regionalize, we will end up with more officers between the geographical territory then than what's there now? Is that because Anvil will not be is not 24/7 now, or we're actually adding more heads, more officers to the force?
You're taking them and us and putting it together.
So you're not actually adding more then, you're just combining their three, it sounded like. But you also said,
Six.
but you still gotta cover the same geographical area. You can't have everybody in Anvil and have a problem up here. You still are covering, splitting them. Okay, that makes clear, that at least answers that question. You also stated about leadership, you would end up not yourself, you would have more. So I thought normally in a merger, you end up losing some of them. When companies merge, you lose a CEO and everything.
It's, so you have police contracts, which is union, and you don't use bodies. You
So are you actually union?
only-
Okay, but officers you don't lose, but I'm saying we would have two chiefs then?
No, you have one chief, a deputy chief, and he'll be, probably has about a year left, and then he's taking a retire.
Okay, so when you stated that you would gain more authority, that would be above the union contract, which I understand.
The sergeants are also in the union too.
Yeah, so,
You have 2 sergeants and then myself and then the deputy.
okay, but you still have two sergeants now. I would think you'd have one, you only have one here and not one in Anvil? Okay, I don't understand their force. So it's not, as I think of a merger, sometimes even in companies, where you shrink some overhead, but you don't lose the workforce. It's actually, all we're doing is merging the workforce and taking the numbers and still trying to cover the same area. And it was already been stated that Palmyra right now is a whole lot further along than Anvil Township as far as the police force. I know I was part of the fire service in Cleona when there was talk about merging with Anvil. It happened after I stepped out, but I understand some of that from where that goes and how that worked. But it just, as it was stated earlier, if you looked at it now, but moving forward with the benefits of it, is it really there? There's cost increases and stuff. I know the Borough Council will make a decision however they make it. I don't have, from my last time I was here, I left very discouraged with this Borough Council, and I haven't been back in years. There was questions they asked at one meeting, the next meeting, one of the Borough Council members admitted that they didn't answer the questions. They still didn't answer them, and then the vote that was here about went a different way than most of the people in the borough that I understood wanted to happen. But that's here nor there. I'm hoping that this council, which most of yous were not here at that point, I don't believe, as I look around, you were not here for sure. And it was nothing to do with the police force. But I've been in this borough 50 years myself. And it used to be a lot better borough, in my opinion, in a lot of different ways. But so be it, that's all enough said. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't think so?
Yeah, so this question is probably gonna be for, I don't know, Jane, you might be able to help.
I'm sorry.
Actually, both of you on that side might be able to help with this, and Brenna. So the renovations that are being proposed, I forgot to bring this up when I was up here before. There's $300,000 in renovations.
293,
Okay.
300,000.
I'll give you 295. So some of those need to be done no matter what, right? Even if we didn't regionalize.
Well, as the chief said, the evidence room, definitely.
Okay, so the evidence room on his side. Yeah.
And the codes officer.
So on the police side, what would still need to be done?
You would get done the evidence room that I showed you,
Okay,
and probably just that one office in the corner.
and that's a need that you have now. Okay, and then on the admin side, you guys have a need for an office over here as well, right?
Right. The
So-
plan is to take our workroom and cut it in half and create another office.
So what do we know if you guys didn't do the regionalization, how much of the 293 will still be spent on the renovations that you have to do no matter what?
I would have no way to answer your question
I mean, he showed me around the station over there, and it seems like, would it be a fair statement that the majority of the construction of the 293 is for the
The
regional part?
police side, yes.
Okay, so let's say you start off at about 50%, no matter what, is that part. So you're talking about, what, 160 or 170,000, is that what? 160? No, a little less, 140, something like that, right? A little less than 140, so. And I'm sorry, Jane and Anthony, you guys voted against that spending?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the reasoning?
Well, I voted no on an additional code enforcement officer, so I'm not gonna okay anything that gives a code enforcement officer that I didn't think we should spend the money on, an office.
But I think this is this is kind of contentious, because I think you voted last year that you did need a zone, the board voted, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The board
I did
voted no.
not.
I'm not
She did
saying,
not.
I'm not saying you, but
Yeah.
the consensus, the board did
Yes.
vote that it was discussed at the time, they do need a new zone.
Yes.
And it was
A
put in
second
the
one.
budget, which I voted no for.
So I'm confused, if you guys voted no on the construction of that, but then it's going to be needed no matter what, if we do the regionalization, where do you stand on, if the regionalization's done, where do you personally stand on spending that money then? Because he would have to do that.
Well, that's almost impossible to answer because it's a whole package.
That's
If
not-
we
it's-
would have been said this was for code and this was for police, maybe I would have voted differently.
Right.
I don't,
And maybe-
I can't tell you without looking at the numbers.
And maybe that's where
Yeah.
the direction it'll have to go, so.
Yeah, that's probably what'll
Yeah.
happen. What'll probably happen is if the regional doesn't go forward, okay, and we have to make some slight renovations for additional personnel within the borough, employees, code enforcement officer, then if that person needs an office, then we'd have to vote on that separately, but right now it's been combined. It's in the entire package.
Right, and that renovation budget money is already in the budget for the borough for 2024.
No.
It's already in the proposed
No, it
budget?
didn't pass.
Oh, so,
We haven't even seen a preliminary budget yet.
okay.
Which, by the way, too, somebody mentioned the basketball court. That is going to be put in the budget. It doesn't mean that it will survive to the end of the budget.
Correct.
Okay. We are presented a worst-case scenario with sort of a plan of how we want, and then we sort of pick it apart. So,
All right, thanks, guys.
Chief, what's the square mileage of the Anvil Township?
Closest point to them, a little over 2 miles.
2 miles. Okay.
Furthest point is like 7.2. Perspective, one end of North Londonderry to the other is 5.
Andy, I'm sorry, you're gonna need to speak into your microphone. Sorry.
Closest point's like 2.1, 2.2. Furthest from Lingle all the way, not quite to the John, I wanna say was like 7.1. Give you perspective. North Londonderry from one end to the other is like 5.152. Would take them 10 minutes to get from point A to point B. It'll take you 11 minutes if you go from here to the far end. And I use Google to find that out, so.
Anybody else for public comment? Police. All right. Anybody
can I,
here have any
can I say
questions?
something? I'm pretty conservative when it comes to spending money. Shut up. I like to look at the big picture and decide what is right to do, which is why I probably voted no on the last 3 budgets that were presented to us. I will be honest with you, I'm very torn because this side of me saying, that's $100,000. This side of me saying, this is the right thing to do for our future. So I appreciate you all coming and voicing your comments and concerns. I'm not sure if it has helped me along the way, but I'm still very torn. I see the benefit of regionalizing and being the organization that hopefully other municipalities will come to us and say, we would like to join. that's a big possibility, but it is a possibility. So, I just wanted to let you know, I think we're all torn.
Yeah, I echo Jane's being torn. You know, if we put it off, if we wait for down the road, can we also still come that close that it's only gonna be 100,000 to do it? Or is it gonna be 500,000 to do it next time? Or
Well, and I do-
another million?
I also do look
So
at the
that-
fact
That's where I'm at.
that we did not pay for this study, so I do want to let everybody know that it was a study that the state does. We have already gotten a grant. If we have to give that back, that doesn't sit well, with possibly getting more in the future, but, that's,
And there have been bigger grants to regionals.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
That's one advantage. And left out municipalities, by the way, completely. And that is our tax dollars anyway.
Yeah, that grant money is
Yes,
your
it
tax
is,
money
it is,
anyway.
yep,
That is
It's
true.
not a free,
No.
doesn't come off the trees.
no, right.
And before I got here, on the council, Palmyra did a really great job for 11 years straight.
What's that?
11 years straight, not raising taxes.
I think it was a
It was a long time.
It was a long streak,
It's a
yeah.
long, long time that Palmyra Borough didn't raise taxes. And guess what? We're reaping what we sow. If you look around the town now, it's part of that deferred maintenance and deferred codes enforcement and deferred police officers. And we didn't hire back one of the guys from our maintenance department here. All of those things cost you something somewhere. So by waiting to do this, again, you're kicking it down the road. You're asking one more time, let's not do this right now. But we're gonna pay for it somewhere, sometime. And we all go through all of this together. I mean, I live here too. I feel the pain, but it's not gonna get easier. It's not gonna get better. If we're not taking care of these police forces and making sure we're being able to scale that we have to scale and those kind of things, and be able to have a detective, or I don't know all the details, but have the detectives that can actually follow up and find the bad person who is doing some of these things in our towns, which when I first got here, I came because of the rental property stuff. I own rental properties. And I was infuriated by this fee, and somebody was gonna inspect my this and that. And then what happened was I went with the chief. And the chief drove me around and showed me all the things that you don't see every day. And then Brenda took me around and drove me around every back street in this town and showed me how bad some of these places and things are. And I ended up voting to put the rental registration in, which pains me to this day. But it's because of people not doing what needs to be done and done right. So now we all pay $50 for each rental property, with a threat that our police chief here, if he goes to my rental property 3 times, he can get rid of my tenant. But you know what? It's not because of my tenants. It's not because of people like me. There are other people in this town who aren't our upstanding sitting here with us tonight. There's a lot of other people that are frequent flyers with our police department. And if we don't have enough police officers to make sure that we get 2 officers who can respond in 11 minutes to one spot for a traffic stop or for a whatever is going on, it's not gonna get any better. What's gonna happen is Anvil's gonna lose another guy, and I'm just speaking out of turn here, but Anvil's gonna lose another guy. They won't be able to rehire anybody because they don't have enough of a police package to put these guys back on the street. And who's gonna wanna work when I know there's only one guy out there? And guess what? Police are not looked upon right now, and they haven't for a couple of years, of being the good guys. So if we don't get the good guys and keep the good guys, it's just gonna, the stuff snowballs. So my opinion is we cannot kick this down the road again. Palmyra has a history of doing that and letting the streets, we didn't do the maintenance we needed to be doing, and now we're getting caught up. Our police pensions fell way behind. It took us years to get back to where they're 98% funded. It should have never left 98% funded. But we didn't want to raise taxes. We didn't want to increase somebody's spending somewhere. It's got to happen somewhere, guys. I don't know where. I'll do whatever you tell me, vote me out. But I'm telling you, you can't just continue to say, oh, don't spend, don't spend, don't spend, don't spend. And then we cut out something like the concrete for the park and the walking trail because we don't know where we at. If we have a $100,000 expense, why would we spend the $140,000 that we saved on the parks and things? And yes, I get it. We can go back and fix those parks next year or the year after or do some of it. But we have to be fiscally responsible. So that's
Or like
my
I said,
opinion.
it can go to paving streets.
Correct. Paving streets, paying for cops, those are things that every one of us needs every day. And I'm not picking on basketball. I would, if I could, I would pay for the basketball court myself. But, which one is more important? Maple Street being paved or redoing the park, the concrete for the thing? We could still use what's there. But that's just my opinion. So.
Well, all I'm gonna say, council, is you need to decide.
Yes.
Are you moving forward with a regional department or not?
Right.
The issue is, we've gotten to this point. We are now at a point where we are filling out the applications for insurance for the borough side of things. I don't know if I'm including the police or not. I know that Andy is working on grants for the regional department. At this point, does he continue forward or not? I mean, we, and Andy, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, but we're hitting deadlines.
Yes.
Where we have to make some decisions for the next year. Roger, who is not here with us, and hi, Roger, I know you're watching, but, because he's not feeling well, but the point is, he's going to get started with the budget. Does he put the police department in the budget, or does he put the contribution from the borough into, I mean, there's a lot riding on this.
You need the decision tonight.
It would be incredibly helpful.
While the council ponders for a few seconds their basic decision, there's a lot that it takes to run a borough. And we had that discussion about taxes haven't been raised, and it's, rob Peter to pay Paul later, and that is what we have been suffering through. But we've been very fiscally responsible doing so. The taxes that went up $158 last year, considering the cost of inflation and the amount of elements, shows how this council is very fiscally responsible. The school board, that's a whole different story, because you've seen how much your school taxes have gone up, and it's been a lot. But we've really tried to hold the line here, and we may not always agree, but this is the 7 folks that you have that are going to make the decisions for this community. And we've had to deal with water management issues. We have sinkholes here. These are all these concerns and elements that are in here. And it's a mini city, and we have to follow different rules than what townships follow. They have actually separate rules. North Londonderry, they incorporate automatically in their taxes, my understanding is they put in whatever the CPI is for that town, they automatically put into their taxes. It's right in top every time, right as it goes. But if we would have maybe not followed the path that they had in the past of not raising taxes and then kept incorporating relatively small chunks of increases, it probably would have been felt and would have been a lot less painful. But right now, we've had to to get caught back up, but we are catching up pretty well, in my opinion. The town may not feel it, but I think we have made some really good leaps and bounds, and, you know, local councils make these major decisions which the direction of this town goes. So I believe I'm fiscally responsible, but I am also one that's a little more interested in trying to, you know, where do we stop? We have a certain part of the community that we're all on fixed incomes, regardless of what we are, because we all have set incomes that come in. But do you let the town fall apart again because you're saying, okay, we have some folks that can't afford the $158, and it's very difficult to sit here and do that, but you also have to say, do you let the town fall because of it? Does the town implode on itself because there are some individuals that cannot make those modest increases when inflation's running at, you know, double digits? So do you say, okay, we let the town fall apart again? That doesn't get things better, because then it's that cycle again. So there are many opportunities for many folks within the town to get assistance from the government. But my feeling is, and I'll tell you all what my feelings are, you can't let the town fall and implode if it was spending that was just out of bounds, that's one thing, but you have to maintain the town, because if you let it fall and crumble, you're gonna have a lot more troubles than you have now. Sorry, I rambled on, I apologize. But I was trying to answer a lot of the folks that come up to the podium tonight. I wanted to kind of surmise all that. And it's just,
You did a good job.
I put it all in here on my notes that I had.
Do we need a motion?
Well, you don't necessarily,
Already did it, so.
yeah, you are on the path to regionalize. I don't need a motion from you, but at the same time, I mean, you've approved the charter, you've approved the, you know,
The commission.
the commission,
municipal
you set up the
agreement and
commission, everything is going. I mean, you know, do we continue it or don't? That is the question. So, and from this point forward, if you decide you want to, then, you know, as your staff members, we're putting a lot of time and energy into this. So, you know, we need to know that we have your backing. I mean, regionalize, don't regionalize, it's not our decision,
Correct.
but it's our work.
That is your work.
So do you just want like a roll call vote?
Just a straw poll will be fine with me. I don't necessarily need any kind of an official motion. But I'm thinking that if anybody from Manville Township tonight is watching your meeting, they're probably wondering what you're planning on doing too.
Well, what we're pursuing it, and we are always going, and for me, it was always because the continuation of it was we were hoping there were a lot of cost-saving benefits. And a few meetings back, that did not materialize, which is what put me on the fence, which is why I'm off the fence now. You know, I don't think this is the right time to do it myself, and that's how I'm going to vote. I think that we'll stay a borough, police enforcement type policy. Not that it won't happen in the future, it's only because it's changed for me, because as we've garnered more information, as it's materialized, I don't know if it's, in my view, it's not going in the direction I'd like to have seen it gone. So for me, it's a no. And I've supported it all the way up through, but it was these last few months that has had me question, basically
yes.
based on cost.
Do you want me to go down through? Okay,
please.
I'm happy to. Just give me, your decision on moving forward or not. Regional Police Department, okay. Counselor Barry, you want to move forward?
Based on things I've known through the last 30 years in this borough, and projects I've seen go from $500,000 to $1.8 million because we kick it down the road in other places a year or two, I'm saying move forward.
So you're a yes to moving forward.
Yes.
Counselor Kyalani?
At the right time, no.
Counselor Garber?
I'm a yes.
Counselor Miller?
I'm a no.
Corley? Counselor Corley?
I'm a yes.
Counselor Touche?
Yes.
Counselor Shear?
Yes.
Okay, we will continue on the path of regionalization for our police department.
I'll give them a minute to clear out.
That's probably the toughest decision I've ever had to make on this council.
It's a tough decision, you're right.
All right. Rec Commission did not meet this month. Solicitors report.
The rec commission did meet this month.
Oh, did they?
Sorry, they did not meet in July.
Oh.
Or we did not meet in July. We met in August, and the reports will be coming after the.
Okay.
The rec director's taking a little vacation, and you'll get the reports
Okay.
when she emails them. Sorry.
Thank you.
We don't have anything from the solicitors report, correct? We don't have anything from the solicitors report?
No, nothing from the solicitor.
Okay. All right. Zoning Hearing Board, no hearings were scheduled for Monday, September 11th, which takes us to the Assistant Borough Manager's report.
Yeah, I should have made Assistant Borough Manager's report. This particular situation, this is, and Roger had mentioned this before, about the cost for the permit to get permission to bore underneath the railroad tracks. Our our borough engineer was looking to see if we couldn't maybe postpone that permit until we were ready to go to bid.
Right.
He has received some information from the gentleman that handles the permits for Norfolk Southern that, yeah, okay, we can, but if it's, needs to be closed, then we'll have to close it, that sort of thing. So, what you're being asked to do is to consider the expenditure of the 43.7 and approving that expenditure out of the capital reserve account, so that if we have to make that payment, you have already authorized it.
We're just authorizing.
Okay, so this is a precautionary motion to allow us to cut a check to pay for that permit if Norfolk Southern says, hey, we're closing it.
So if they don't, we can then possibly postpone doing this until we can get Ritu's bid specs, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, if they're allowing us to keep the permit open until we can go to bid.
But in case they don't.
But in
we're
case
covered.
they don't,
Okay.
we have
Well-
already had the expenditure on the minutes and approved, so that
Approved,
we
so that
can
you
cut
can
a
make
check
that
and boom,
spend,
it can go.
Well, this is stormwater, and this is the number one issue we have in this
No-brainer.
How many
borough.
years you been working on this?
Well, before I got on council, let's just put it that way.
I had dark hair.
Yeah, so did I,
Yeah, you did.
so did I. So I'm gonna make this motion.
I will second it.
Whoever wants to
Multiple
second, don't care.
seconds, huh? Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
All right. Motion passes 6-1.
All right. All right. No communications, which takes us to other business. Chief, you got anything else? I'll do that as soon as we sign. Besides me. 2 more. Okay. Bill, you got anything?
A follow-up to a few weeks ago. The cameras at Fireman's Park, have they been addressed? They've been redirected? Everything is good with them? Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Don?
Nope.
Tom?
Thanks for everybody coming out tonight and everybody online. Appreciate your involvement within the community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Please come back.
Please, absolutely.
We like to see people out here.
Nothing for me.
Okay,
No, thank you.
Anthony?
No, I'm good.
Brenda?
Council, I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna have to call a short executive session meeting to address a personnel matter after the meeting.
All right. All right, that takes us to public comment period number 2. Please state your name and address for the record and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay.
Mike Blauk, 81 Augusta Drive, Anvil. Also have rental properties in the borough of Palmyra. So I really just want to follow up on some of the stuff that was discussed tonight. As you guys know, in 2019, I think as a result of some comments maybe that were brought here, or recommendations to implement this licensing for rental properties as well as potential inspections back in 2019. If you recall, there was a lot of debate about that. The room was full. You had a lot of unhappy landlords. You guys eventually adopted a licensing requirement. You waived the inspection part of that. You decided not to go with that as part of the ordinance. The room cleared, everybody went away, nobody showed up for the meetings anymore. Everybody thought they dodged a bullet, no pun intended. And lo and behold, you guys adopted the Licensing Act, which, the licensing ordinance, which everybody thought would be really a walk in the park for the landlords. It ended up being a $50 charge per unit, per year, and it's every year. And as a result, what we get for that is the ability, we get basically this blue laminated piece of paper that we give to our tenants with certain instructions as it relates to the ordinance. And we provide you personal data, emails, phone numbers of our tenants. That's it, $50 per unit per month. Might not sound like a lot of money. To me, it's a ton of money. I can tell you this year, going into the 5th year now, this has been adopted, we'll now have spent $16,500 to get that laminated piece of paper every year that we're supposed to provide to our tenants. So I guess my question is, because this was raised as something that was to help minimize crime, landlords are held to a certain standard, properties will be maintained, the borough will be in much better shape as a result of this. Has there been any measurement or any metric taken as it relates to this? Do we have anything that we can point to as a result of what good has come out of this rental licensing ordinance? And I guess the other question I have is basically, I believe tax revenue raised for this is about $100,000 a year, correct? It's somewhere in that ballpark based on the calculation I did back in 2019, based on the rental units, the number was close to $100,000. I think it might have been 90 at the time. So being tax revenue neutral, with that, which I believe you're supposed to be, I can't imagine we're spending $100,000 a year to basically have this program in place. We talk about taxes, we talk about things being equitable and not raising the fees for $158 for this and that. Jim, I know you sat in the audience and now you're on the board. You were opposed to it. I'm still opposed to it. I spend a lot of money for this.
I'm still opposed to it.
Because it penalizes the people that are doing the right things. Why do we need a licensing act for the people that are the violators? I've gotten numerous letters from Michelle, and I think we maintain our properties pretty well. So I know she's out there sending letters to the people that are not maintaining their property, but I guess I don't understand what this has accomplished, okay? The other thing that we talked about back in 2019 was, and it was brought up tonight again, is the cost of sewer, okay? We're paying a flat fee for sewer. Everybody pays it. A couple of the people mentioned that it, one sewer line. Well, I got one sewer line at the shoe factory, just one. I'm still paying a flat fee per unit, per month, or per quarter. I pay the same that somebody that lives in a 6-bedroom house with 4 bathrooms pays. I pay the same fee for an efficiency apartment that's 500 square feet that might use 500 gallons a month or less, still paying the same amount. So, look, Mr. Miller brought it up. He said, hey, it's kind of part of the collective, thing and this and that at the time. And, I get that. But, you raise it here, you raise it there. I mean, this all adds up. We spend $100,000 a year in real estate taxes in the borough. Okay? So adding all these extra fees, I mean, after a while, what happens is, we're trying to improve the community, but in the same respect, you're taking it out of our pockets. We won't put it back into the properties because it's coming out in taxes. It's coming out in fees. It's coming out in a licensing fee. So, I'd like to know what the measurement has been, what has been accomplished by this, and the fee is excessive, okay? We have properties in probably 10 different municipalities. I have one other community that we pay a licensing and inspection fee. One. It's Mechanicsburg Borough. That's it. We pay $45 per unit, and we get an inspection for that. There's an engineer that comes out and does an inspection. Okay? We only do it every 3 years. We're paying $50 per month per unit. I'm sorry, $50 per year. And there's not even an inspection done. It's simply a data entry, as far as I can see, with the administrative office. And they do a good job. I'm just saying, does it cost us $100,000 a year to do that data entry? So the other point on this is that the rental properties have been picked out and scrutinized. You guys, I've visited some hotels here for various reasons. The conditions of some of these places are deplorable. You're not doing an inspection there. Why? So, I'd like to see this revisited, or at least have a reasonable fee that would be mandated, that would justify the cost of the administrative time spent to do this. I almost thought, quite frankly, I'd rather have the inspection done if it was done at a reasonable fee. But if you look at the fees that are being charged by other municipalities, it's not that high. And by the way, there's case law now. The city of Pittsburgh, there was a case law that was passed. They were sued in Pennsylvania, where some of this has now been overturned. So I'm not saying that. I think there was egregious acts that have occurred as a result of that. But, I'd like to understand the expenses, on what's it costing us to do this, and what are the benefits?
Anything else? Open it.
My understanding was one of the problems we had, we didn't know who and where at any given time. Is that part of the problem we had?
There's a lot of problems that we had.
But that was part of it. And I think what we ended up doing was generating more work for Michelle, because now she can follow up with some of these things, and now we're actually creating we have another codes inspector to try and enforce some of the stuff that we've
Well,
found.
I'm not in a position to be able to answer any of your questions tonight. I mean,
That's what
you
I was
know,
thinking.
I
You can
mean-
report back to us with some.
So,
we
yeah,
can't do
we'll
it
try and
tonight.
read it
you
in the
know,
minutes
I
for
mean-
next
Snap it off our heads.
Just
but-
to
Yeah.
ask, what are the costs, what's the cost
I mean,
breakdown? What is it
I'm-
costing us per unit?
I'd
So,
move on with your public comments.
Trying to find out what the cost per unit is,
Well,
to find
yeah,
out what,
I-
to
I-
actual
I'd like to
justification.
know what, like, because this was all packaged as, you know, there was gonna be improvements that were gonna be done. I mean, it started out as, and correct me if I'm wrong, you
It's
had.
been working well for me.
Yeah,
Because
we,
once we
we've,
started handing out disruptive conduct reports, we stopped going to places multiple times, because we explained to them, we had a couple places that they got to, and it was, you realize you get one more, your landlord's gonna have to kick you out, and magically, we didn't go anymore.
Yeah, but the landlord's paying that. That's my point. I mean, the landlord's paying that, not the disruptor or the tenant that you're talking about. So why are we paying for that?
The landlord is your property, you're responsible for what the people do in there.
No, you're absolutely, you have to be, let me correct you, okay? You gotta be real careful about discrimination, okay? We're held to a standard that you can't even imagine, okay? So don't tell me that we're responsible for what our tenants do there. We can approve them based on credit, income and expenses, their criminal background, things of that nature. But guess what? That doesn't make them good citizens and good people. They can have a 700 credit score, have a good job, and on the weekends, they are complete lunatics. Okay? I can't deny them based on, if they pass all those standards and those ratings, I can't do that. So to say that I'm responsible for them, I'm sorry, but HUD will differ with you on that. Okay? So that's not true.
So hold on a minute. So who then is responsible for the property?
We're responsible for the property itself, but I can't have a tenant that we, you know, that you're trying to say that because they live in our building, that we're responsible for their actions and the way they conduct themselves? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that once they become a nuisance
No.
to the people within
Right.
your building, you have to take action to address that.
Okay, so you can do that. I've given names, I've given phone numbers, I've given emails. You have all the data you need in order to be able to get a hold of
Because
these.
it's worked very well for us.
Right.
Because
Great.
we've had people
I'm just
that-
arguing that $50 per unit per year is excessive to basically provide you data. That's all I'm saying.
So your question, and it comes back to you, what is your question is, what does it actually cost the borough per year to manage this program?
Exactly.
And,
That's what
and
I'm
it should be at a zero,
Zero sum,
yes.
is all I'm saying.
So we need time to look at that, to come up with that information to
Well,
come back.
I'm not sure that that's even gonna be,
Yeah, how do you determine that?
how do you determine that? I mean, we have one employee full-time from October the 1st, when we send out the letters, to March, that has to go to court for the people who absolutely refuse to, you know, adhere to the rule. So how would,
Well, you would quantify it, you have a person, in my position, so I have a maintenance person. That person costs me $25 an hour plus 40% for their benefits. That's what I charge. There's 2,080 hours a year. How many hours do they work on that rental registration?
I would have no way of gauging that.
It's
I don't know what percentage of their time that they use. I mean, the
Okay, well,
percentage.
why don't we put a matrices in place that we can do that? So we find out what we're actually spending on this, because it may actually be more.
Well, you're not making the money to cover the two employees that do it. I mean, you have a codes officer that has to sign everything, and then you have an employee that has to input everything and take all of that information.
Right,
So you've got,
we should be able to quantify it.
but that's not all they do.
No, I get it, but we say a percentage of what, it's the same thing, I go through the same thing with, yes, we'll talk offline then.
Yes.
Sorry.
I would just like it revisited. I mean, I'm just saying, I've done it, this will be the 5th year, It's a lot of money.
Yes, I
And,
get it.
and we're, you know, everything we're here about, everybody's here about is concerned about increases in taxes, okay? I mean,
You don't have any properties in Hummelstown,
we manage numerous properties.
in the borough of
Yes,
Hummelstown?
they've
Well,
just adopted.
yeah, and
a
you're gonna be
licensing-
paying for for the
Yeah,
inspection
We
also.
just did it for the first time.
Yeah, $45 a year, and $45 a year, and you will pay for the inspection every 3 years.
So it's 45, so what's the inspection then?
I don't know, they haven't set that fee yet.
Okay, well, that's fine, I've already given you one that I'm aware of, and that's Mechanicsburg. Every 3 years, with an inspection, $45 per unit. There's a lot more than just a licensing, just basically providing data. I think most of the boroughs would argue, the people that are doing it, that most of the effort is in the inspection and the process and the time that it takes to go through the buildings and basically, you know, do everything like that. I'm not asking you to do an inspection, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if they can do it for $45 per unit, and with a lot more effort,
Well, they're eating some of the cost.
And that's, yeah.
We'll get you some answers, Mike.
okay, thank you.
So I'm just gonna say, what's in the borough are motels and not hotels.
Oh, no.
It's a big, that gives my properties a bad rap, so let's just clear that up right there. So I just wanna say thank you for listening to all of our concerns, and while some of us, you know, I'm not saying I was against this, the regionalization, but I don't feel that the timing is right. So that's enough about that. I heard a lot tonight, though, about people talking about the way our community looks aesthetically. And I am sure that if they're not up yet, that they will be up in the next 2 weeks, and that is all the signs for like the football team and the cheerleaders and every other sports team. I think it's great. I think it's great small town community pride. What can be done, though, at the end of the season to take those down? Because they stay up there all year, and they look like hell by the end of the, you know, they're weathered. And the same with yard sale signs and lost cats and dogs and everything else.
And this is what our codes person is, that's
No,
why.
she can't do anything about that.
Because how do you know who put that up?
Well, it's real simple,
Well,
because it
yeah.
always has an address.
Well,
That's
the
a med
yard
ed
sales are a little
Or if it
different,
has a
yeah.
lost animal, there's a phone number.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
wait a minute, wait a
those-
minute,
those signs are a little different.
whoa.
Yeah.
It's a med ed poll. We don't own the polls.
Right.
There's nothing we can do about that, except to have one of our employees go and take them down.
I mean, it looks bad. mean, if
I
you
don't
want-
disagree
if
with you,
wanna
Tara,
clean up the
100%.
community,
I
it
don't
looks like
disagree with
crap.
you. Yes, it does.
Oh, yeah.
You know, soccer season's over and we're still looking at
Okay.
these things on the
So
polls.
I, for one, have
Beth.
been known to tell Roger, could you please contact the school district and ask them to take down their soccer signs or their football signs or whatever, if I
have
see
said
them?
the same. I have
Yeah.
said the same, and that's why I don't know if this board can do something.
I would
Excuse me.
also suggest that maybe if that's happening, as a member of this, excuse me,
Like,
as a member of this community, why don't you go to the school board and complain,
Yeah, they,
okay?
and I will tell you, Beth and I,
Because you can't go to school board.
Palmyra Parade, the Christmas parade,
Yeah.
we'd go around, put all the signs up, go around and take them all down. Yep,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean,
other
I'm
people
not
don't do
saying,
that.
You know, I like the community, I like the idea of it, but at the end of football season or soccer season or whatever it is, take the signs down. It's that simple.
That team should be responsible for taking
Yeah,
care of it.
so I think that message needs to get, you know, Roger should be sending
Right,
something
right.
to Superintendent.
We're 100% in agreement with you.
Yeah.
Number one, we don't own the polls. Number two, we get the calls to take them down when it was a school district function to put them up, okay? So we end up calling the school district on behalf of council, and Beth has been the number one person on that, okay? So we end up calling the schools and saying, hey, take these down. Why don't members of the community that have a problem with this go to the school board and say, enough is enough, you need to take them down? I mean,
I have said something to Brian Weigel already.
yeah, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Yes. I mean, we do as much as we can, and you know that. We do as much as we can, and we're not opposed to doing it. But we're the ones that always take that.
Maybe something in the newsletter that goes out.
But the newsletter goes out to residents.
I
For the yard
understand that,
sale
but it's
signs. For the
But
yard sale
residents are putting
signs.
stuff up too, for yard sale signs and lost pets and all
Oh,
that stuff.
yeah, that, you're,
Worth a
well,
try.
I
mean, at
won't be
least it's-
disrespectful, but
At least it's drawing, awareness to it.
I will be happy to do that.
My last thing is speeding. So I, Chief, am between, dead smack in the middle between Railroad and Forge Road on East Maple Street. Okay? Between Railroad and Forge Road. So I will tell you that, first off, there's no speed limit sign on either side of the street in that area. And so I work from home, and I have a stand-up desk. And my stand-up desk in my office is at the window. So I look out the window half of the day when I'm standing. And about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, there was a digital sign on the electrical pole right outside my window. And I saw Roger like 2 weeks ago, and I even commented to him how much that cut down on the speeding. Yeah, it was a digital sign, somebody did.
Was it the big one, like really big?
Yeah, it was pretty nice size, yeah. And it like flashed if you were going too fast. Yeah. So, and it might have been like a month ago now, I don't know, you know, but like end of July, beginning of August. But I think that, I mean, I've seen it happen numerous times. A lot of kids cross on the way to, you know, like to Pine or Forge, and the cars are flying before school, after school.
We're getting ready to honestly put them back. It's gonna start on the middle school, we'll start there and work our way around to the different schools.
I understand that, and I understand that you probably only have one sign, it can only be so many places. And you guys are watching the school zones in the mornings. But there's other areas where kids are walking, and I mean, like, I've seen kids almost get hit on my street corner. And speeding is a problem. And myself and all of my neighbors have been in your office till we were blue in the face. And we finally just kind of like got tired of talking about it, and now we don't come back anymore because nothing has happened. I mean, I would love to have a speed bump in the middle there, honestly. But the problem is, you have like a 7-8 block radius, and cars just fly. And we are, you know, Maple Street is the throughway, because Cherry Street doesn't go all the way through, Oak Street doesn't, Walnut Street doesn't, Pine Street doesn't. So all that traffic from the Oaks and east is coming up through Maple every morning. And every after school.
Forge doesn't go.
Would it be possible, I don't know if it's ever been thought about,
I'm sorry?
could we put a stop sign in the middle of Maple Street?
No,
We did traffic study.
no,
Can't?
no.
Okay.
No,
And
that
I was
requ-
told that you have to have a traffic study to put a
Yeah.
stop sign, or a
Yeah.
speed limit sign up,
yeah, it has to meet warrants, and it won't.
which is
you have to do-
ridiculous.
Well, it's not posted, it's 35, correct?
Yep.
Well, I do
And
know
what is
this.
speeding? On 35, what is speeding? What do you consider speeding?
Speeding is 46,
46.
because that's what we
So-
have to give by law.
It's not.
And I understand, and that's, you just said the problem. The problem, in my opinion, is Main Street, Railroad Street, Forge Road, your main streets through the borough, right, are all 25, and all your side streets are 35. What's wrong with that
And
picture?
I feel your pain because I live near the middle school.
And I will tell you
See it
that
too, they fly there too.
I ride a lot of bike, and I don't really ride that much in the borough anymore. I go to the trails, because I've almost gotten it, last summer I almost got hit 3 times because of cars running stop signs. And it's so, I think that's something that the borough should be looking at, is the streets, or the speed limits on our side streets. Chief just said it's 46. So if you lower the speed limits to 25, now you're at 36.
It's
It's a
not
big
gonna matter
difference.
though. It's not gonna matter because we've gone through this with these studies and we've found out that that you could put 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs up all the way, but there's no way to sit and enforce it to any measure within the entire community. And we've done with the facts that we put those speed limit signs up with the flashing light, that has had a dramatic impact because drivers are unattentive for many reasons. And we have noticed that they have actually, because they see it, we haven't had as many accidents, we've had less through it. So you can't put a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign is gonna do nothing to fix the problem.
Then why is traffic
So-
slower in the township where it is 25 on the side streets?
Because the township made, however they made the rules, I don't know how they did it. But the point is that there's no way that unless you wanna get a police officer strictly enforcing the speed limits on elements, sit there and clock everybody all the time. So what we have done, because we've discussed this many times, and we have done elements to stop the issues with stop signs, people running stop signs, there's no way to stop that, but we did put speed bumps in on Cherry Street at the intersections, and that's had a dramatic impact of accidents at that spot. So we've taken these into consideration many times. You're not the first person that's come in there, so we went out and said, okay, we're gonna buy these digital signs, and we're gonna actually track it, because it records it, and it has shown people are not speeding. There are a few speeders, but over and again, it has shown repeatedly that they don't speed.
Well, I can tell you firsthand that when that sign was on the pole outside my window a month ago,
You automatically slow down.
traffic was
You
much slower on my
automatically
street.
slow down, correct.
Traffic was much slower on my street.
But it records everything on the
Oh, I know
initial
this,
shot.
Because I've seen the data from it.
Yeah.
I've gotten the reports from it in prior, not this last time, but in
Well,
prior
yeah.
times.
And we have shown that the vast majority are not speeding.
What I would like to
I would
see.
agree with that. I would
And
do
how
that.
would
many
too.
people
I would
have
too.
been injured, hurt, or there haven't been any? There just haven't.
Well, it's
So
true.
how do you make a
I've
case
seen
to
it.
justify this? How do you make a case to justify this when there is not any data to support it? I
But there
mean,
is data.
no, and the data has repeatedly shown that we don't have a speeding
We can
problem.
stay here till midnight arguing this.
We could. We have the data, that's what this,
And I've seen the data, and the data supports what I'm
it does
telling you.
not. In this council, we have gone through this repeatedly.
She's saying that when they see the speed sign, they slow down,
That's
which
true.
means you're not
But
gonna
I have
catch
seen the
speeders.
print-
No,
Right. I
no,
have seen
because
the
the
printouts
machine
of the-
records it instant on the
And I've
beginning
seen those
section of it.
printouts,
They
right.
do slow down after that,
But
but they're
pe-
still not speeding.
But when people see that sign, I don't speed, believe me, I did enough
Chief,
when I was young.
I have a question. Is it possible,
We can put lines anywhere as long as we have a spot to sit, and you have to measure a distance.
no. Is it possible to borrow the little, whatever you call them, the ones that sit like
Tripod?
at the curb that nobody sees?
Derry Township uses them.
Oh, you're talking about,
Like a speed.
Whatever they're called, I don't know what they're called.
NRED. Yeah, we have NRED. We can do it.
I would like to see comparison of that result to the big square result. Identical location.
Yeah,
for
'cause
2 weeks.
I think she's right, I think when people
Because
see that sign.
people don't see those,
Yep,
and
yep.
you're gonna see
Yeah,
results.
and
We
we've,
don't have, hold on, you're talking to like track, we don't have that, we just have the speed sign.
Can you borrow it from somewhere?
We might be able to, or we can just put our signs up and put them in dark mode.
People are still gonna slow down when they see them.
If they see them.
I slow down.
We did it before though, and put them in dark mode, and it actually.
Doesn't tell you.
I want these. I want these that
our
nobody
reports
sees.
do say that
And I
there's
wanna see
not,
there is difference. I wanna see
that
the
there's not
reports.
speeding, but I do believe that the flashing sign
I got caught by speeding with
excuse
those.
that report.
It
'Cause I didn't
doesn't
see 'em.
skew it because it records the speed
things are
on the immediate time. If they were speeding,
But they're running speed.
it's already recorded before they slow down. It doesn't record
Can't
it
you
as
just
they're
record
coming
speed though
down.
without sitting there?
As soon as that signal is on the initial
No.
spot, it records it.
We'll
That's
talk
how
after
it
the meeting.
works. It doesn't record it as they slow down.
Well,
Yeah,
also,
but-
I will also want to say, is like I said, we can.
I wanna run an investigation with you.
But if
See
our
it,
speed
they
limit was
stop,
25
right.
miles an hour on our side streets, speeds would be slower than what they are today.
Even if they are.
They would be slower than what they are today.
It really isn't gonna matter.
Mr. Kelly, what's up?
You guys are spending a lot of money. If I hear anyone say they don't like to spend money, again.
Sorry.
Right. So, it's fine, but there has to be accountability, and I kind of talked about this with Chief, and Mr. Miller voted against the motion to regionalize, I think Tony did, and I think, I said I wasn't against it, I just thought it was the wrong plan. My biggest thing moving forward is let's not get to the point again where at the last minute, we're trying to figure out why something cost more money when it was a year and a half of thinking it would be a savings. And now that it is costing more money, and I did tell this to Chief, I said, listen, you're on a trajectory like this. No matter how you spin it, it's still like this. All right, so you regionalize. I told him, I said, if that doesn't stabilize, I said, I'll be back up here chewing you again. I said, because that is the ultimate goal. And you know, it's spending. I wish you guys would focus on the accountability of every spending more. I mean, I could bring this full circle with Mike's thing. The state Supreme Court, with ATVs, side-by-sides, they were charging us $50 a year registration. They weren't accounting for where that money was going. They got sued. They, in fact, had to account it. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled you can, one, not collect a registration under the guise of a tax that you do not account for, and you do not show the data that it's being used for what it's collected for. The result of that study was the money they were taking from ATVs throughout the state, they've opened up in Potter County, and they've had to spend that money on improvements to ATV systems because it went to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court said, you can't collect money from people for a registration without documenting where all those dollars are going to that thing. You can't take it and put it towards anything else. So those dollars need to be accounted for, and it needs to be accounted for, that stuff like that. But it's that kind of level of accountability. It's, you know, it's okay, the regional thing's gonna go, and maybe it will stabilize. But let's hold some accountability to it. Let's hold the accountability to the $50 you're collecting here. Let's hold the accountability to the $158 in taxes. If you're not accountable on those things, you're not gonna pay for a basketball court for the kids. You're not gonna pay for any improvement at Heritage Park, because you're spending, and it's gonna come back somewhere, right? So I would just really, really hope you guys ask some tough questions as you're spending as to where that spending's going. Don't just, after you vote, leave, say, hey, it got done. Let's revisit all the spending we're doing that's over. You guys still got the whole budget to go through. I think it's gonna be a little tougher now, so.
It's tough every year.
Right, but, you know, so I might be back then, we'll see.
So just so you know where I'm coming from, Mr. Kelly. Oop, you okay? When I vote on something like what we voted on tonight, when it's a large amount of money, and it's something that, yes, we could put off for a couple years, I like to look at more than just what's right now. I like to think ahead, and prices always go up. So what I took into account in my vote tonight was, yes, it's $100,000, but I've been on this council for 10 years, I think.
What?
I think it's 10 years now. I don't know. It's more than 4. Anyway, I've been on this council long enough to see that when we put things off, it's always phenomenally more when we go to do it, and that is why I voted yes. Maybe, yes, I don't know that it's quite the right time right now, but I'm afraid if we wait, we're gonna spend a lot more next time around.
I understand that, but accountability.
Right. Oh, no, I'm not denying that. I'm not arguing that.
Front end, and I brought this up with you, Mr. Miller, if I was involved in the front end, I would have asked those tough questions. Is this gonna cost more money? If it was gonna cost more money, I would have said, listen, I agree with your plan, Chief Winters, but let's find a freaking way to make it at least be even with the budget we have now if we didn't regionalize. If you would have done that, nobody's here.
Well,
So,
we did do that. We asked if it was gonna save us money all the way through, and everyone's thought is that it would. It was only when the numbers were really, once you follow through with the initial proposal and you start to get into the money crunching and the numbers crunching, it starts to materialize. And as it materialized, it was starting to not pan out as we had hoped. At least for me, it didn't pan out.
Right, yeah, well, we knew that it wasn't gonna necessarily be a cost savings when South Anvil decided not
Right.
to join, or not to continue.
Initially,
So-
with the original
And then-
3, we thought it might possibly be, and then
And
it
then, of
dropped
course,
down to
there's always
2.
those unknowns, insurance and,
I think he's done a good job with the startup. He's going to be almost 100%. We didn't quite get there. Ethan, I'm always But I do think he's doing a great job on paying for all the startup with grant money. 99%, I said it come through. Hopefully it does. I think that's a good thing. I just would have liked to see, I think it's so much better to present a proposal. It would have been so much better to present a proposal for regional force where it was at least net equal to if we would have kept our force this year. I would have liked to see that accountability be a lot tougher to make that happen. Because now you've set precedent where you voted for something that is in fact more money, I'm sure you're going to read all about it, is in fact more money than what it actually is now. And so next year, if you spend money again with the regional force, and then the year after that
I agree.
again, that's gonna be crazy.
Well, there's always,
Because it should have started at a net zero.
there's always going to be an increase because of salaries alone.
Well, I'm-
So,
We're talking about
yeah.
100,000, we're not talking about
Right.
9, so we're accounting for the
Right.
salary increases. So that's where I'm at.
no, I
I
know,
know.
I
Right.
understand,
Right.
it's not an
Yeah.
easy decision.
No, it wasn't.
A lower bar, combine forces, and then stabilize from there. That's what I would like to see. I don't think the idea was wrong, I just want more accountability on the money. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment?
We were done with public comment, you were,
Oh.
oh, sorry. Never mind, I'm
No, we,
off. I'm
no.
off.
You're on public.
I'm,
You
yes,
threw me
I'm
for a minute. I
sorry.
was like, oh, are we?
Make your
Okay.
announcement, get your motion.
Sorry,
All right.
that was my fault.
Closing public comment period number 2. Borough Council will conduct its next public meetings on Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, and Tuesday, September 26th, 2023, beginning at 7 PM. Motion to.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, executive session, don't leave.